Hello, everyone! Hello! It's Shiose, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode review. Once again, she really hasn't done one in a while, but it's not because she didn't want to. It's just, she's been really busy, and it's just unfortunate that she hasn't been able to really put out as much of these as she would like. She's going to make a more concentrated effort to try her best about these, but, well, she can't promise anything. She's really sorry, but this episode was so amazing that she had to say something about it. She enjoyed every moment of this episode. Well, that's because we hadn't seen Roa since the end of Season 2, so it's been such a long time since he appeared on screen, and, well, since he dueled. We haven't seen him since the end of Season 2, and he didn't duel then. Well, what a comeback it was, though! The duel was so fun to watch, and the counterattack at the very end was so hype, and the very pinnacle of Roa, honestly. It was so dramatic. Plus, well, we haven't even gotten to talking about the Nail Yuga Roa dream team that formed at the end of the episode. But don't worry, we'll get to it. We'll definitely get to it. But of the myriad things that happened this episode, the drone mind-controlling Mimi was one of the bigger parts of it. Actually, while Shiose was shocked and felt really bad for Mimi, it was also very exciting in a way. Let her explain herself, okay? Up to now, we hadn't seen the drone really do anything but plot or be in the shadows or just go heh heh heh. It didn't seem like a real threat, like a real villain, you know? But this episode effectively put President Drone back into villain tier, and in a way that didn't feel forced and was heavily foreshadowed. So, Shiose knows that mind control or brainwashing seems to be a huge part of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, especially when it comes to the female characters. However, she thinks this is a case of it being done right. For one, Mimi is a 37-year-old adult who knew what she was getting into when she put on the helmet. As an adult, she made a conscious decision to become the president, even knowing the risks. She saw the previous president collapse in front of her back in, was it episode 32 or 33? The drone itself also told Mimi outright that becoming the president would come with an immense mental and psychological burden because of its integration with her. So, the drone warned her, and she saw what happened to the previous president. Yet despite knowing all of this, she still put on the helmet. Now, this is not to say that any of what the drone did was excusable, but Mimi went into the partnership knowing the risks. She accepted the risks that would happen to her, and now they've come back to bite her. It didn't feel forced or underhanded, just, well, it was surprising, but it was something we all, including Mimi, could have seen coming. But, well, on to the main event, right? On to Roa. Of course, Shiose loves Roa and was so excited to see him on screen again. As she said earlier, his duel was amazing and his summon of Royal Demon's Death Dune was even better. All of Roa's aces are just so cool, and Shiose can't wait to possibly see more of his deck soon. Especially with the tournament arc. But besides the duel, the conflict between Roa, Geta, and Ushido was, well, super interesting this episode. So, this episode did a really good job in fleshing Roa out as a character. It made him feel really three-dimensional, like a real person. And Shiose loves that. She loves that so much. The main point of conflict this episode, of course, was the fact that it seemed like Roa was leaving Geta and Ushido behind to do his own thing. Now, it seems like this isn't a first rodeo for him. Not in the sense that he's leaving them behind, but in the sense that he doesn't seem to communicate well. And this is picked up by Roman, who isn't worried about his little publicity stunt. She isn't worried about him dueling Mimi or challenging Mimi to a duel. She's worried about him not talking with Geta and Ushido about this beforehand. Because it seems like she understands how he works, and also that he probably doesn't mean the things that he does and how it comes off. And well, and unfortunately, because he never told the two of them what he was doing or what was happening, they think that they're being left in the dust again. Forgive Yose's speech. But we also see throughout this episode that WAAAH really does care about Geta and Ushido. He even... Remember back in episode 18 when he rejected Yuga's offer to build a drumming robot? He decided to wait for Geta to come back instead, and he did. And he, in this episode, decided to show how much that Geta and Ushido mean to him by saying that they were his aces, heavy metal and invasion. But he messes up really badly by sacrificing them. Now, if WAAAH were like any other character, like maybe she should say, if WAAAH were like a more well-adjusted, emotionally well-adjusted character, this would have been like a really hype moment. Remember back in 5Ds when Yuga used Jack and Crow's dragons to synchro summon Quasar? That was like amazing because Yuga used their bonds, the force of their bonds together, to summon Quasar. But in this instance, WAAAH's actions comes off as though he is discarding them or as if he's just using them. And they really hammer it home this episode because when WAAAH sacrifices heavy metal and invasion to summon Death Doom, the music stops. The music completely stops for a full 30 seconds. No music plays, and it abruptly cuts off as well. Speaking of the music though, when WAAAH first summons Invasion, Miniscape plays, but only the vocals. Not only the vocals, but only the instrumentals. It seems like WAAAH really wanted to put Ushido and Geta center stage, and the episode was reinforcing that by playing Miniscape without the vocals. However, Geta and Ushido, of course, don't take it well when he summons Death Doom. And that's another layer, right? We as the audience know that Death Doom's effect cannot be activated unless WAAAH sacrifices 2 level 7 or higher monsters. Basically, without Invasion and Heavy Metal, WAAAH wouldn't have been able to win. In the same vein, he was trying to say that without Geta and Ushido, he couldn't have a band. But it doesn't come off that way because WAAAH doesn't communicate properly. And the misunderstanding happens and Geta and Ushido leave him, and she also just thinks that's the really sad part, right? Because he's not doing this maliciously. He's not trying to be mean. He really thinks he's doing, well, his part, basically, in giving them center stage and saying that he relies on them by summoning Death Doom, but he doesn't say the conditions for Death Doom's effect, nor did he tell Ushido and Geta about this beforehand. And we know that he's not... Well, we know that he didn't mean this because at the end of the episode, he actually is very upset about Geta and Ushido leaving. And he tries to play it off. But Roman calls him out and says, stop lying to yourself. And we get a shot of him looking actually hurt. actually distressed by this fact. And it seems like Roa is just someone who doesn't know how to convey his emotions or seems to have some sort of aversion to showing weakness. In fact, after this, when Roman suggests that he and Yuga should team up together, he immediately misconstrues it as sympathy or pity, and he doesn't want any of that. However, Yuga being Yuga sees straight through Roa, and instead of making it seem like they were, you know, a little pity party together because both of their teams kind of left on them, although Yuga's had an actually good reason. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Yuga understands how to handle Roa, and instead of making it seem like he was pitying Roa or feeling sympathy for him, he instead makes it seem like Roa is helping him, and he asks for Roa's help. And of course, this makes Roa accept because then it feels like he's not the vulnerable one here. Yuga is. And that's part of Roa's character, that he has some sort of aversion to showing weakness, or he doesn't know how to communicate properly, and he doesn't mean all of the malicious seeming things that he does. He just doesn't understand because he doesn't communicate. All of this could be fixed if they just talk to each other. Okay, sorry, Shiose is getting carried away, but Kirishima Roa is just such like a 3D character, and it's so interesting to see him as a character, his thought processes, how others misconstrue him. Well, rightfully so, you know, because no one has any idea what goes on through his head. So how are they supposed to think anything else if he doesn't tell them, right? But it is really sad how it turned out. However, Shiose thinks that this episode and this setup with the Dream Team with Nail, Yuga, Roa is perfect for Roa's character development. So this episode is really exciting. What she's looking forward to is Nail and Yuga are actually very similar to each other, right? They understand each other, and they're both pretty smart. So it would make sense that Nail is also someone who would probably understand the type of person that Roa is, like Yuga does. Yuga understands that what Roa did wasn't malicious. He understands that Roa isn't a bad person, and we as the audience are also shown this because, well, one, Roa regrets his actions. He doesn't know why they're leaving, but he is sad that they're leaving. He does care about them. But two, back in episode 24, you know, Roa came to Yuga's aid. Well, he didn't come willingly, but he still offered his aid when Yuga asked for it. And that's another thing, right? This team is not a team of Yuga's closest friends. It's actually of Yuga's greatest rivals and of the previous arc's antagonists. That's part of the reason why it's so, you know, amazing that they're all getting together. But another thing is, these are all, Shiose wouldn't call them clashing personalities, but they sort of understand each other in a way that Yuga's friends don't. Remember in episode 24, Yuga didn't go to his friends for comfort. He went to Roa, and Roa did comfort him in his own way. They got into a little shouting match, but it did work out in the end. And Shiose feels like with Nail in the party, it's two people who haven't been on screen a lot in the past season. Roa not at all, and Nail only towards the end. But it's something that the both of them can benefit from as we go into this tournament arc. And it's just so exciting. It's like we're getting the Zeal vibes again, where we have the three rivals, Shark, Yuma, and Kaito together, but like even better because while Shark and Kaito opposed Yuma at first, Shark only lasted maybe 5 episodes, and Kaito wasn't the real big bad. He was just being, you know, controlled by He was just being controlled through Haruto with Dr. Faker. Well, but in any case, with Nail and Roa, they were actual arc antagonists. They stood on opposing sides of Yuga for an entire season. And now they're all banding together and it's just so exciting. Oh. Speaking of arc antagonists, however, Asana. So we saw last episode that Asana and Caterpillar were up to something, spying on the newly introduced Double Six. And now we get a little bit of a resolution with that by Hayama and Galleon having to withdraw from the tournament because they have to help Asana. And this is really big, right? Because Asana in the last episode told Kayama and Galleon that she didn't want to take the tournament away from them because she knew how much they wanted to be in it. So something drastic must have happened either to her or to Caterpillar, or maybe just in general. Something drastic had to catch her attention for her to recall them and go back on her promise to let them participate in the tournament. And this is just really exciting. All the plot is coming together, and this episode is loaded. Shiose enjoyed herself so much. It's very unfortunate that Kayama and Galleon had to withdraw from the tournament, but we did get our dream team of Nail, Yuga, Roa, so maybe it wasn't all that bad. Overall, the episode was such a great episode, both in terms of plot, with Mimi, the dream team, Asana, and her subplot in the background, as well as character-wise for Roa. And she was so excited to see him and Nail and Yuga interact together, because this is an unlikely duo, or unlikely trio. Oh, the tournament arc is going to be so fun, and it's only just begun! The fun has just begun! Thank you everyone for coming to Shiose's Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens episode 44 review. You know, fun fact, she actually wrote a script for this episode, but she lost it due to an outage, so it's unfortunate that she mainly had to ad-lib this. She hopes her thoughts were coherent enough for everyone to understand. Alright. Thank you for watching Shiose's episode Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode review. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Shiose hopes to do more of these later. Bye. Thank you for watching.